you have a copy of the agenda. Real quick introductions. Brian Minnick, trustee, Madison Township. Cassandra Rosine, chairman of the board. We have Krista Franke, which is secretary of the board. Erica Hamilton, board member. And Amy Minnick is township clerk. This time we're going to review the previous meeting minutes.
Okay, on December 11th, 2025, board met Oakland Fire Station, 6 p.m. Meeting was called to order, Pledge of Allegiance recited, minutes were read and accepted. All board members were present, several guests in attendance. Discussions included clothing allowance with a point system. Interlocal agreement was approved by the board with all ayes. SWFD Fire Department contract was similar to last year, was approved with all ayes for $40,000 for 2026. Township consolidation was also discussed with the possibility of a Zoom meeting in the future with state reps. The Oakland Area Advancement Association Children's Christmas Party was held recently. Virtual gift giving tree was arranged, and many presents were provided for a township family. The board, trustee, and clerk salaries, 3% increase for 2026 was approved and accepted. Tim Roy may be present at the next meeting, January 6, 2026. Township guidelines will then be updated and the meeting was adjourned.
Any questions? Any corrections? Open a motion to accept.
Motion to accept. Second.
And then it's accepted. Thank you. Move on to the salary resolution. So, as Kristen just mentioned, we discussed that salary at the last meeting. The board approved the 3%. But we also have to, and here's the main resolution for us to use. We also have to review EMT rate of compensation, ambulance drivers rate of compensation, and township chairman compensation, which was $105 this past year. So the board discussed the 3% raise last meeting. Is there any further discussion on that? That would be for who? Just make sure I'm clear on that.
It'd be for trustee and board members and clerk.
Okay. So there's a 3% increase over 2025, correct?
Yes.
Or for 2026?
From
Okay.
2025 to 2026.
Okay, township chairman, rate and compensation. Suggestions? That was 105 last year. We'll keep it the same?
Doesn't
Raise it, 3%?
a lot for everything that township chairman has done in last year.
Can we add 3% to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
I make a motion to add 3% to the township chairman.
Okay.
I'll
Well-
second.
Well, we'll just go ahead and add that. So what we'll do is we'll put the 3%, we'll put that number in here for the rate of compensation. We'll add 3% on top of the township chairman. We'll just write that in there. Then what we'll do is we'll make the motion to accept this resolution for the salary.
So if I put the 105 plus 3%, we'll pay her 3%.
Yeah, we can figure that number here in a second. EMTs currently are paid $18 an hour. Ambulance drivers are $15 an hour. My suggestion to the board is that we keep that for this next year with a possibility of reviewing it after the year to see where we're at financially. There's going to be a strong attempt for a lot more engagement, and there's a great possibility we might have some more medics on board. There's a possibility, and this is just a possibility of us having up to 4 new medics for the fire department immediately, with 2 more currently in class. So we might be able to have a discussion midway through the year about having an overnight medic. For now, my suggestion is we keep the rate where it's at for them and then we'll review it this summer.
Sounds good.
Make sure we stay within that budget for the rest of the year, depending on how we do the first part of the year. But you guys okay with that?
Yes, and can you go over it again, what's the EMT rate, or, there's 15 now,
Correct.
and okay, this was 15. Nice.
And just for, I can't do the math that fast, but for the salaries, let's go ahead and get that, make sure you get that documented. Township trustee salary for 2025 was $7,029. That's 3%. Should have this ready.
I'm sorry, which was it?
$7,029. Township board is $737.67 per board member. It's $737.67. Township clerk, $1,649. And the township chairman is $105.
Okay, that was much.
Tina, if you could kind of read that off just as quickly as the board before we.
Okay, so the trustee new salary with the 3% included is $7,239.87. All the members of the board, new salary is $759.80. Clerk, $1,698.47. And chairman, $108.15.
Any more discussion? Local motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept the resolution, first resolution of the year for salaries is passed. Thank you. Got that done, I'm going to move on to election of officers. So at this point in time, the first meeting of the year, township needs to elect their officers. So we have chairman of the board and we have a secretary. So at this point in time, open it up for any nominations. Any volunteers?
I'm fine staying here.
So Sandra, chair,
That's fine.
I'm fine. Yes, sir.
secretary, stay secretary.
I know it's
Very good.
difficult to do.
Do you have any interest in any positions?
I motion to nominate each of them to stay tier
All right.
positions.
All right, we have a motion from Erica that Cassandra is board chair and Krista is board secretary. Any second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion carries. Thank you. So now we'll move on to annual financial report review. So I did email this out. I'm not sure if you had much opportunity to review it. Okay, got a hard copy here.
Some of it was hard to read.
It's a little difficult to read because this comes out of the
Yes.
state, but,
Who is your clerk, Mr. President?
oh, that's right, we did forget the clerk.
Maybe one of them. I would happily motion for you to be clerk.
Got a motion for Amy
I second.
to remain clerk of the board, so, a motion and second, any further discussion at all?
No, just a thank you.
Any-
I know.
Any objections, concerns? None-cited, so motion will carry, thank you. Thank you for, that's why you're the clerk. You have a turn. Appreciate it. All right, annual financial report review. So, what you have in front of you is the review for 2025. It's in the financial report. I've not submitted it into Gateway yet because I want the board's review of it and see if anything stands out to you. Any questions? This is definitely an opportunity for you to ask, and no question is silly. There's some things on there that could look confusing, so let me know any concerns you have. I will bounce through a few of this here. You'll see at the very top on the front page is the Townships and Road Infrastructure Fund. That's the fund that we, with the CIP, as we talked about last year, we had to create, the board created that fund, so that's there. There's currently nothing in it. You can go to our CIP. We have a lot of the extra reserve money that is allocated towards a lot of different projects that we need to do. You'll see under restricted donations, that's an account that was created. Jane had created that specifically for the park only. So that's what that money in there is for. You'll see that there was some disbursements this year that will help clean up a lot of that stuff that was down there in the park. Excess levy, there's nothing there. Then you can see payroll deductions at the bottom of that. It's just goofy, it's a way, it's in Tom's Web. What that really is the deductions for the tax, payroll tax throughout the year. So that first page, column F is our total cash on hand for the funds. You can see under disbursements, column C, and under receipts, it's column B. So we brought in more than what we dispersed. And I actually, just for the board's awareness, I printed off what as a reminder of what the budget was for this past year, 2025. So you can kind of compare that to the financial report in front of you. We stayed under budget on all of our funds. Take a quick look at that. Cume fund, there was some money came out of that late this year for some expenses at the fire station here. Really, what you're looking at that disbursement column there compared to what our budget was, so it's pretty good. If you had a chance to review the annual financial report, the other pages will show you more of the details of where a lot of the receipts came in from and where a lot of the disbursements went out to. Give you a few minutes to take a look at this. If you have any questions, please ask.
So I looked it over in advance. So the top part obviously is the personnel services on page 4. But under there, there's some other spots that have your name a few times. Could you explain?
Under township fund?
Yeah, just, there's different spots. You
Yep.
gotta see your name, so.
Sure. So under the township fund, see personal services, that probably like most of the payroll.
Yep.
As we go to supplies, supplies is part of the purchases of the copy paper, the supplies used for the township. So a lot of, I believe the stamps is also in there. There is, Hewlett Packard is right below my name there, that's the ink that is paid for. And then we have under,
General office supplies.
yep. And then under the township fund for other services and charges is more of a rent and for internet, utilities, the phone. Phone's a big portion of that. I've got, so a lot of this is really even more detail in Tom's web that I can pull up and give you specifics if you wanted to know. I have all the receipts for that, for the supplies. If you wanted to see those, I've got a lot of those for the board to take a look at as well. That's a good question because you do see it in the hand, right? I think I'm going to try to provide a little bit more, like see under the payroll, you can see it says payroll in parentheses. I might try to do that more for the rent and some of those other expenses so it's a little more clear on here for anybody, because someone who's not here in this meeting is going to look at this and might be like, what's the heck is Brian paying himself for? So
The Patriot payroll, is that under your name too?
Patriot payroll is completely separate.
Oh, okay.
Everything else looks kosher to me.
We are completely reconciled with federal and local tax, payroll tax, that's all been taken care of, and it was concerned last year, we've got that all reconciled, and it looks really good.
Do you need a motion?
Well, yes, really, it's an acceptance from the board saying that everything looks good. And if you'd like to sit on this a little longer and review it, we can come back to it at the end of January. I think it's the last Tuesday in January, and then we can vote on it. If you want some more time to review it. So it's entirely up to the board what you want to do.
I'm fine with it. We all agree that we are okay with the current financial report for 2025.
Right, I will get this submitted this week with the gig rate. If there's any changes that need to be made, if something comes up and as you're reviewing this, if you don't like something, let's discuss it, and then I can always pull it back out of the way and we can make the adjustments. I'll probably go over it one more time just to make sure that everyone's good. Now, just for transparency, I'll try to get, I'm real good at the list of those disbursements for the supplies and the charge and stuff. So you can see that.
That makes sense to me because I knew that you had those expenses. We've talked about them in the past, so it's not like it's new. So it didn't scare me. I just wanted to know for myself, like which one fell under which department. So, because it's just a name. So honestly, it's a security for all of us for you to be able to tell us that. So that's all I needed out of that one.
He was just saying that he didn't like the way all that was coded. We were just talking about that, weren't we, Brian? About how you wish it was more.
All right, I will go ahead and thank you for that. Township assistance guidelines. So every year, the board needs to review the township assistance. The guidelines need to be reviewed, and really the two main things that need to be reviewed is the federal poverty guidelines. They change every year. So our guidelines are based upon the federal poverty levels here for income. So here's what the current for 2026 is. And I had sent the guidelines out quite a while back, but in the back, guidelines reference household income, which is what the poverty level guidelines is there. This is what we currently based on. So as a resident calls and requests township assistance, they go through the application process. Part of that process is taking a look at their income. If they make way too much money, there's other options out there for them. The township, you don't qualify for township assistance. So we use those guidelines as one of the check boxes for an application process. So I'm requesting the board to just review this. I would like to accept the new updated federal poverty guidelines for 2026 to replace Appendix A in our township assistance guidelines.
Okay, it's not that much.
Just enough, a little movement every year. Right. For it to be.
Reviewing the rest of the guidelines, they've all been the guidelines are a great tool for us to use. It's great for residents who request an application and request assistance to be able to see what they can qualify for, how the process works. So the guidelines, for the most part, are great. I took a look at there's also rent and food, household essentials. All of this, in my opinion, is good, but it's an opportunity for the board to review and if we make any changes to those thresholds and those limits. I personally would like to see the poverty guidelines adopted for new ones, where we can make that adjustment. I would like the board to also consider if we wanted to do 100% of the poverty guidelines, or do we want to go 110, 100? Some townships do 125% because it's such a low number. So this is an opportunity to take a look at that and see what you would like to do. This is for our township. These are local residents that are in need. This just says this is the threshold, so if you make more, depending on your household size, then you will not qualify for assistance. Any thoughts or considerations there?
I will say when this first opened up and I saw the family report at $31,200, I'm like, there's no way, so if there is opportunity to look at moving that, I do think it would be nice if we could, just because that's definitely, I don't feel so.
And if some are doing them 125, if we did 110,
Right, that's kind of a switch and see how it
Yeah.
works for us for this year, and then maybe next year we notice on how many requests have been had this year for 2025?
Good question.
Kind of like 7 or 8, and we've done 4 or 5, right?
It's
That have qualified.
it has all been utility assistance, rent assistance, and food. We partnered with Community Harvest Food Bank with their programs there, and they have been wonderful. So we've been able to refer them at no township expense, but they have been able to be able to lead there. So it's mainly most of the disbursements has been, all the disbursements has been rent and utilities.
And we're still under budget for that too, right? For the year.
Now, I will say, looking at these numbers here for the poverty guidelines, that we only had, depending on which level you would go at, there was really only one applicant that would not qualify, just paid too much money. So, we had an emergency request, which financially, looking at W-2s, they would not qualify, but there was an emergency event that happened in their life, which has been really devastating, and so we were able to help at one time help and help the family. So that was also taken into consideration as well.
Only about half the people who actually contact us ever go through the
There's a
full
whole
application,
process.
finish the process. And those are usually the ones that qualify. If
That-
you're gonna
yeah.
go through the bother.
Right, right.
There's no right or wrong answer here. This is really what the board feels comfortable with, saying this is what the threshold should be. I think a lot of those factors need to be considered, like Cassandra, you brought up about looking at a family of four and just like, wow,
Right,
that's
very.
tough. So very few townships are at 100%. We were at 100% last year. Most townships are above that. And it really ranges, so it's all
Right.
depends on.
What's the most you've seen, right, is a 125?
175.
I was gonna say, because like the voucher program, I think with the private schools is like 150 or something like that, so it's even.
What are your thoughts?
Hopefully it's going up.
I do too, and I mean, I'm personally 125 doesn't even seem that big of a difference from the one.
No.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
I would be okay with
Go to
doing
one,
it.
125.
I mean, especially when you look at our budget, we stayed within it, their requests, what they were for. I feel like we're using the assistance in the right way, you know, with one utilities and that paying for someone, and we're using other resources for food, so I feel like we would still be able to help multiple people, that, so I would. So can we motion
I
for
lost my train of
the
thought.
2026 poverty guidelines to move to 125%.
Second motion.
Okay, motion and a second to move the federal poverty guidelines for Madison Township guidelines to 125% of the poverty level for 2026. Any further discussion? I would like to add in the discussion period here that we definitely were under budget for township assistance this year, and because of that, that does carry over into next year. So we do have more funds there. So if something happens this year and it's a really strong township assistance year, we can with the board additional appropriation to utilize some of that funds. That fund, that and the fire and EMS is the two funds that I really feel like we need to make the most of for our community. And I think I support the board's decision to bump up the poverty percentage. So, Tina, if you could remind us what the motion is.
Motion was made and seconded to move the federal poverty guidelines for 2026 to 125%.
All right. Any additions or corrections? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will take a screenshot of this. I will take this and plug it into this here. Nothing else really should change there except the appendix there. All right, that's the guidelines, so thank you for that.
40,000 for four, so it's not much. I mean, I think we're doing the right thing by moving it, but it's those numbers just.
Housing, this is max rent. We have also household essentials. We also have food allowance. Food allowance, the township, just for your awareness on that, we don't just give a check to them and say use this for food. So there's a couple townships have partnered with like Kroger for a voucher system where they would say, hey, this is how much they can spend, and go spend it, Kroger will provide a receipt. We are struggling to make that happen for our township. It's just we don't have a grocery store in a township that we can work with, and the others have not been willing to work with us on that. So in a case here, if someone would qualify for food allowance, the township will go and purchase the food based upon the list of the duty and the guidelines. So just for the board's awareness, we're not going to be handing cash to goodness and here and spend it. We can't do that actually. So we will go and actually purchase the items, make sure that they fall on the list of acceptable items as well. So that might a bunch of do. So that's what that is. Monthly essentials, household essentials, like toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that. Jane says she's never had anyone ask for that, but it is there. I think the levels are appropriate for now. If we have to review that, I think the board can ask. This is the rent, burial expenses. We have actually been in conversations with Zwick and Jan Funeral Home about partnering with them. The expenses for funeral and burial costs have skyrocketed. And what townships can provide to that is just a small fraction of it. We had one cremation in 2024, early 2024. It's been the only one we've had for burial or cremations in decades. So, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but I want to make sure we're prepared and ready. So we're currently communicating with the funeral home on what that number would be like for them to be acceptable. And right now the numbers, I would ask that we keep those the same as well until we can figure out what we can do. I am thinking we might be leaning towards offering cremation services over burial. Simply because a lot of townships are doing that now. They're not doing burial anymore, they're doing cremations, and it's much, much cheaper. Would you say 30% of?
Yeah, so John Zwick said that years ago, it was 1 to 2% of all funerals were cremation, and now they're 30% of funerals are cremation. He said what they used to make on all those burials, they could cover the 1 to 2% cremations and still, help people out. He said that now, it's just everything's so much more expensive.
Zwick and Jay has willing to work with us for sure.
Yeah.
So I would assume, I would request that we leave this as it is. This is actually a really standard guideline. I would expect throughout this year, I would like to get some sort of an agreement with them and provide it to the board at the end of this year on any changes that we might make. But I'll give you plenty of time to review that and see what looks like, and then update the guidelines next January. Well, any questions on the guidelines? Again, these have been very helpful and great to be able to use.
Do you, like, if someone contacts you, do we give them a copy of that, like right away?
Yep. We get a copy of the guidelines, and then also we get a paper copy of it if we meet in person. Then you get the application, you can fill out. We also have the application online that's been utilized a couple times already.
Awesome.
So they do get the guidelines, and I encourage them to look into it because it talks about what we can do, what the purpose of the board, and this is coming from you, from the board. And what happens if they, if we deny assistance? There's an option for them to appeal. So it's all spelled out.
There's also, Jan Zwick said a lot of times he will tell those families that they need to apply for Medicaid. Medicaid will cover so much of a burial and of a plot and of a cremation. And he said a lot of townships won't even touch it if Medicaid pays. Or you can add to what Medicaid will
Right.
pay to try to help them. So it's kind of up to you guys, is what it's sounding like. But
Sure.
There's a lot of questions still that we have. Yeah.
I will update the guidelines for the poverty guidelines, and I will send you all an email with it, so please review it. And then if all looks good, we will put it into the official township kind of a file. I just want to make sure you guys always have an updated copy of that for review. Next up, we have contract review. This is a contract with Monroeville Fire. So here is my recommendation. This contract for Monroeville Fire is for 2026. Last year, the contract was $7,600. And this year, I'm suggesting, recommending to the board that we increase that contract to $8,500. Justification behind that is the increased costs for supplies and maintenance, and of all the contracts Monroeville has, we are the lowest that they have. And I feel just with understanding the processes of the fire service side and how much things are, that I think we'd be good neighbors, and I know they're good stewards of the money, is to bump up the contract to $8,500. Take a look at our budget from last year, and what we ended up with, we've got plenty of room to be able to absorb an increase of almost $1,000. So, the contract covers the same areas. It's the farthest eastern portion of the township, and Monroeville, that's part of their zone coverage. So if something happens there, then we would be the first call out to that. So nothing changes as far as the agreement in the area. It's the only thing changed on that is the price. Thoughts? Questions?
Sounds good, pretty soon.
I'm okay. No concerns with that.
No concerns at all? All right, we'll work on a motion for accepting the contract for fire protection with the Monroeville Fire Department.
I will motion to accept.
Seconds. Any discussions? Any questions? All in favor of the motion to accept the contract for fire protection with the Monroeville Fire Department, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. I will make a copy of this for you. I just need the board, when we're done here, to sign this resolution as well as the salary. Next up is board meeting schedule. State law requires us to post the meetings and agendas, but also to connect with newspapers, which we all read, and give them a schedule of our meetings. Last year, it was kind of fun, I see my pants and trying to understand what we need to do, when we need to do it. Now I understand our mandatory meetings and when they have to occur. I know when the budget has to be, the CIP. So I'd like to get a schedule of our meetings, so everyone has it on their calendars and we can at least work around that. And we had a lot of them last year, and I'd like to really knock that down. So I asked the clerk to review all the meetings last year, which ones did we not have to do, which ones did we have to do because I forgot to do something before. And so, Amy, if you could present that schedule to the board, see what their thoughts are on that, and then we can have some discussion on it.
So we were thinking, with today being meeting one, that we would meet every other month, on the first Tuesday of the month. That would eliminate us having to worry about June during Copeland days. The budget, we hit the budget in September, and then, December, so it would be every other month, first Tuesday.
How many meetings did we have last year?
We had 8 or 9. I'm thinking there was 9 with that one short one we had. So there was 2 in January last year.
This would be 6.
Yeah, so that would be 6. And then we could add anything if anything came up where we needed to have an emergency meeting to vote for something, right? Right.
Correct.
But that would be what would be on the schedule as a norm. And those would be at 6 p.m. I assume.
Correct, yeah.
First Tuesday every other month.
I would like to have a regular cadence, and if a month comes up where we have pretty much covered everything and we don't have much on the agenda, we do have some people that we'd like to have speak at the board meetings, fire chief, the park board, and we are getting people now on our cemetery committee. So I've asked for those members to come to the board to be able to speak. In fact, coming March, if this is the schedule we like to go with, we will have a speaker here kind of give the board an update on fire and the park and the cemeteries.
I'd rather be like rescheduled, if it's better if I know what I'm on.
After I put that together, I thought, I don't know when spring break is though, if that first week of March it will affect.
Ours is the last week of March.
Oh, that's right, okay.
And then into Easter.
Thoughts or suggestions? Look at those dates, anything? I think
Afterwards, we go to Mexico.
just a reminder, this is an election year, so we don't have anything in November. And
September's your budget. So I think we hit everything we needed to hit.
That would be November though.
Yeah.
You skip
Yeah.
November.
skip November, just be, again, one less
Yeah,
meeting.
This
because we needed to do December,
is around Tuesday.
correct, the first Tuesday of every month, if I worked it all out right, I should do.
Is schedule acceptable to the board? Any motion?
Motion to accept the proposed schedule. Second.
Second. Motion carried. Schedule. Thank you. Do you have any public comments before we move forward? Seeing none. This opportunity for the board. Any questions, concerns, anything you want to bring up, discuss? We can do that now since we're together. I will say that since again it is election year, that if you would like to run for Madison Township Board, that information has to be submitted to the election board here this month, so soon. I would suggest the sooner you get down there, the better. I have not gone through the process yet, but I am told that you just can go down there in person and walk in and tell the election board, hey, I'd like to be a candidate for the Madison Township Board, and they'll take care of it. This is a very easy process. Did you do that already? You guys were both appointed.
I
right?
went to
I
see
didn't
Shannon's
have
office.
sign that.
It's fine, yeah.
I don't know.
So you were appointed, correct?
Well, we.
They took over personal.
We both were appointed.
Yeah.
So you never went through an election.
No.
No.
So you know, none of us.
None
know.
of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you don't go down to the election? Like, who, I don't assume anyone's running against us.
Yeah, I don't
How
know.
does that work?
I don't know. So if no one, if none of us decide we want to run, then it'll be up to the county to come up with somebody to be in that role. So they would probably appoint somebody to fill the position. I know we've got township trustee and a local township here who's done after this year, and we're struggling to find somebody that wants to run. So we're gonna have to find a temporary or a permanent person who will help be appointed to that role if there's no one to run.
So you reckon we should go down to the election board?
I would like to
If
see,
you're gonna run, you have to.
yeah,
So it's, okay.
if you want to be, if you
Okay.
want to be considered, you want to be a candidate,
Okay.
it doesn't guarantee that, because if someone does run against us, then,
You say, hey, go ahead, no.
but if you want to be a candidate, then yes, please go down and just walk in and tell them I'd like to be a candidate for the Madison Township Board, and they'll help you out.
Where's that at, Brian?
Downtown.
So it's not at Steve Shine's office.
No.
What
This
building
is
is
what they
it?
were building, I think.
Is it the
It's
county?
Allen County
Yes.
election.
Oh, that was
County building?
I would like to see this group stay together. I think you guys have a very, of course, elections, you never know, but I would love for you to consider being a candidate, because
the date that we'll be there by.
it's a good question. I've seen it numerous times, and I never wrote it down.
Is that what it would be?
Yeah,
Which is probably,
I think it's
is
the
it
county
this,
building.
is it the county building or the city square? I'm sorry, what?
That's what it says, some type of center.
Or is it the Russo?
Yeah.
So that's the election board, correct? Yeah, Russo Center.
Okay, the first day for candidate filing is tomorrow.
Oh, that was the first day you could.
Okay, good thing we didn't go sooner.
When's it in? Does it say?
The day before the election.
The 31st.
No, probably 30 days before.
February 7th is the first day through February 6th.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's a good thing I did ask. Because I would have.
At noon.
Surprised they don't do that in the morning. It's actually go down.
I don't know, I wonder if they need your ID or something.
Yeah.
I think we had to do that. Maybe when we went down to Shine's office, we had to do ID or
Yeah.
like that.
All right, well, any other questions, concerns, thoughts?